What would you do if following the law meant committing murder? This was the impossible choice faced by two extraordinary women in ancient Egypt, whose courage would help shape the destiny of an entire nation. The year was around 1525 BCE in Egypt. The Hebrew people, descendants of Jacob, had grown from a small family of 70 to a thriving community of thousands. This remarkable growth caught the attention of a new pharaoh, who saw their increasing numbers not as a blessing, but as a threat to his kingdom's security. In the sun-baked city of Memphis, two Hebrew midwives named Shiphrah and Puah went about their daily work of helping mothers bring new life into the world. These women were respected members of their community, known for their skill and compassion. But their peaceful lives were about to be turned upside down by a royal decree that would test their faith to its very limits. Pharaoh summoned the midwives to his magnificent palace, its towering columns casting long shadows across the polished floors. Standing before the most powerful man in Egypt, they received an order that chilled them to their cores. Pharaoh commanded them to kill all Hebrew baby boys at birth, while letting the girls live. This was his calculated strategy to control the Hebrew population and prevent them from becoming too numerous. Shiphrah and Puah faced a devastating dilemma. To obey Pharaoh meant becoming murderers of innocent babies, a direct violation of God's law. To disobey meant risking their own lives. In the quiet moments following this royal command, these brave women made their choice. They would fear God rather than man. Day after day, as new Hebrew babies were born, the midwives deliberately disobeyed Pharaoh's order. They helped deliver the babies safely and sent them home with their joyful mothers. Each successful delivery was both a celebration of life and an act of religious resistance. The midwives knew they were playing a dangerous game, but their faith gave them the courage to continue. Pharaoh soon noticed that Hebrew baby boys were still thriving. He summoned the midwives again, demanding an explanation. In a moment of quick thinking and clever diplomacy, they told him, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." This explanation, while not telling the whole truth, protected both the midwives and the Hebrew families they served. Their act of civil disobedience carried tremendous risk. Discovery could have meant instant death. Yet these women chose to honor God's higher law of preserving life, rather than follow an unjust human decree. Their story, recorded in the first chapter of Exodus, verses 15 through 21, demonstrates how ordinary people can display extraordinary courage when guided by faith and conscience. God blessed Shiphrah and Puah for their faithfulness. The Bible tells us that he dealt well with the midwives, and he gave them families of their own. Their courage helped preserve the Hebrew people, including a baby boy who would later be born and named Moses, the future deliverer of Israel. The Hebrew population continued to grow stronger and more numerous, directly contradicting Pharaoh's attempts to weaken them. The midwives' brave choice became part of a larger divine plan to protect and preserve God's people. Their actions remind us that sometimes the most powerful resistance to evil comes not through violence or rebellion, but through simple acts of faithfulness. This ancient story resonates powerfully today. In a world where we often face pressure to compromise our values, Shiphrah and Puah show us that moral courage matters. They demonstrate that individual choices made in faith can have far-reaching consequences. Their example challenges us to consider, what would we do when faced with a choice between following unjust authority and obeying our conscience? Their legacy lives on in every person who stands up for what's right, even when it's difficult or dangerous. These two women, whose names might have been lost to history, are instead immortalized in Scripture as examples of faithful courage. They remind us that true heroism often comes not from those with the most power, but from those with the strongest convictions. The story of the Hebrew midwives teaches us that resistance to evil doesn't always require grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it simply means doing what's right, day after day, even when no one is watching. Their quiet courage saved countless lives and helped preserve the nation through which God would eventually send the Messiah. In choosing to fear God rather than Pharaoh, Shiphrah and Puah became unlikely heroes in the great drama of salvation history. Their story challenges each of us to consider where our ultimate loyalty lies and reminds us that, with faith, ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things.